Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Realness with 3S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here with Matthew to talk about the Challenge All-Stars 5 Rivals. Matthew, this was a good episode. How are you feeling?
This was my favorite episode of the season
sure.
by far, I think. And honestly, looking back, it's probably been my favorite episode of the last several
Decade?
seasons. Yeah, I mean, this probably dates back to one of the War of the Worlds, I would say. But of the last like 4 proper seasons, and honestly, any of the All-Star seasons, I think this is the episode that stands out most to me.
I have to agree with you. I guess how I know for me that it was a really good episode was like I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, what is going to happen? Like I have rooting interest in both sides getting their way. I don't know how it's actually going to turn out. It was all about gameplay, and I'm always talking about I love strategy, I love gameplay, but this episode is the reason why. This is what I like about these shows is people that get power and they make moves and they stir the pot and they get people being active with their position in the game. And it's not just by proving themselves. You know what I mean? So that's my reason. Why did you like this episode?
Yeah, I think it had really everything where it was the challenge was something where anyone could win. I'm talking about the daily challenge, and we saw how fair daily challenges can turn out and it wasn't like Veronica and Katie did the best in that challenge. It was other people kind of screwing up, which opened the door for them to really kind of take their time and win. So I loved that. I loved the 2 sides of the house. I loved the Nicole and Melissa storyline throughout and what were they going to do? Like who was going to win there? I love to see Messy Shane come back. I love to see Messy Turbo come back. So obviously, Frank has been messy throughout the season, so he provided here. Veronica and Katie provided. Really, like there was nobody that was a complete dud in this episode that I can think of.
Very, very true. It's so I'm noticing by your background that Sam is your new favorite challenger.
No, I'd say to me, Frank is just like complete like domination this season. This is like a masterclass of creating good TV on the challenge. And Frank is just playing the type of game that is so appealing to viewers because it's not looking 2, 3, 4 seasons in advance. And I think that's been the biggest problem with the challenge, where someone like Frank comes back and he'll probably pop up again in a couple seasons, maybe another All-Stars. Maybe he goes to the flagship, but he doesn't care. And he's playing like he doesn't care. And to me, it's just like Frank is by far the MVP of this season. And I'd be shocked if anyone else took the title.
Sophie says Veronica and Katie showed why they are true OGs. I mean, they were coming in hot to this episode, really flexing their strategic muscles and their power in their game. They did not waste the fact that they got some power at all, which I think is also really fun, really exciting. I found also that Amber and Fessy were both like kind of like what you said, they were actually entertaining this episode. Fessy's usually the one that doesn't really do that much strategically in the game. He kind of takes a back seat, and not that he did a lot, but like I just felt that he wasn't insufferable, I guess is what I'm saying. He didn't annoy me completely. Who were you rooting to come out of this elimination? Was it Amber and Fessy or Nany and Turbo?
Probably Nany and Turbo. I didn't really care, to be honest. I think either way it would have been fun. The only reason I kind of wanted Amber and Fessy to win was because it would have opened up a star in the game, and I just think that would have been a little bit more interesting for the next daily. But in terms of entertainment, I probably prefer Turbo and Nany, just because Turbo can just pop off a little bit more easily. Yeah, I mean, Amber's, I like Amber quite a bit, but her popping off is kind of like what we saw at the Deliberation, and that's the extent of it. Whereas like Turbo can really get activated.
And it looks like he's going to get activated next week. And we're going to finally see the episode where Nany gets up and says, "It's too early for this, Turbo." So yeah, it's seems like maybe they're going to be continuously in the hot seat, and Turbo is not like taking the back seat. And this dynamic is finally getting a little bit fun.
Yeah, and I mean, just last week I was saying like, hey, if Turbo's just going to be this like Zen Turbo, then like, do we need him back? But
He's
seeing
like,
now that
no,
that's
no,
not the
no,
case,
no.
yeah. So now I'm like all for just keep casting Turbo, because anytime anyone does anything to wrong him, you just know he's going to get loud, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, he's like, he's been very, very, very tepid, we'll say, but he's about to boil over, which I hope it helps them in the game and doesn't hurt them in the game. I don't want, I do want them to do decently well. I would like to see Nany and Turbo at least get to the final, just to see if their dynamic can do well in a final. And so I don't want Turbo popping off to actually ruin that chance for them, but I do want to see this dynamic kind of explode. So I guess I don't know if I can have my cake and eat it too, but I hope so. So at the beginning of the episode, we have Dario and Ashley doing the intro. They talk again about who is they. And they have a conversation in the beginning of the episode about how they became the vote. They have absolutely no idea how they became the vote. It seemed pretty obvious, though. I know on our side. What do you think happened? Like, why don't you think that they had any idea that they were going to be the vote?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they were just maybe the only team that was not looped in. It is kind of weird when it's what was it, 9-1 vote or whatever it was, 7-1 vote, and somehow they don't know beforehand. But I would have thought like Frank and Sam would have given them the heads up, even.
Right? Or even maybe even Turbo, not like, I don't know, just somebody that they've been talking to would have tipped them off, or at least let them have an idea that, hey, you're going to be the vote. Or try to, maybe they're all like, oh, it's not us, let's just let this go this way. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because if they had time to scramble, maybe they would change it to one of the other two people, like Fessy and Amber or Nany and Turbo, maybe. Of course, Mel is sad for losing Big T. We see that Amber is telling Melissa what Veronica was saying. And so they think that both Veronica and Frank are they, which is correct. They are both they. I kind of like this whole they storyline. It's kind of like, have you seen The Usual Suspects?
Yes.
And so it's kind of just reminding me about whose guys are so say, and nobody, they don't actually know for sure who it is. And at the end of the season, hopefully they're going to see like, who is they? Dun, dun, dun. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, but I wish Katie was getting some respect too. Everyone's saying Veronica, Frank, but Katie's involved.
Katie is involved, but Veronica is really pushing like some of these narratives forward. Like, she is kind of doing a bit of like the threats and do you have my back? And she's being a little bit more vocal than Katie. As the last episode, Katie, we saw her talking to Melissa, so we saw her do some work there. This episode, I felt that it was a little bit more Veronica forward between the two of them. No?
Yeah, probably.
You're just sad that for your girl Katie that she's not getting as much acclaim. She has master classes. Come on.
Yeah, it is. I do love those master classes much more than CT Pro Tips.
They are better. It's a better gag for sure. I'd rather be giving master classes than pro tips, because both of them are going to last forever, though, which I think is good. Do you think that Katie is the only person that will ever get master classes now, or do you think it's going to become a trope?
I feel like now that we've seen like CT and then Katie, like they're probably going to like keep doing it until it gets like super annoying. So I'm sure next season there'll be someone else giving some sort of lesson. Although, well, I won't spoil anything about the cast of season 41. But
okay, wait, we still have to talk about that, Matthew. When should we do it?
I don't know. Whenever.
I gotta figure it out because I keep on forgetting, and then I was like, oh, we should do it today, and then I'm like, oh, the episode's on today. I'm like, and then tomorrow and Friday I can't. Maybe Saturday, if you're free. Or Sunday before, like at like 2, maybe. We will keep thinking about it, but I do want to get it done by this weekend because I just don't know who the full cast is. And I don't want to keep on having to avoid every single mention. So, okay. So Turbo thinks that Steve and Adam are dangerous. Now I'm hoping that this is going to come back around. Because this is kind of the first time really this season we've heard a lot of Turbo's perspective. And so the fact that he has his eye on Adam and Steve, I think is interesting. And we didn't see that come to fruition this episode, but I'm wondering if in the future it's going to hold some weight.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think anytime Adam and Steve like don't win or their people don't win, like I'd be shocked if we don't see Adam and Steve back in another elimination. So I mean, they've already done 4. So I think like anytime, like we got a little lucky that Veronica and Katie won here. Because if most of the other teams won, I think Adam and Steve probably are in some trouble.
Danica says, "Do it on the weekend. I want to be on that live." Okay, well, it's looking more likely for it to be the weekend because tomorrow evening I can't. Friday evening I cannot. Saturday might be a weird one. I can maybe do Saturday at noon. Anyways, we will talk about it. If you have ideas as to what would be good on the weekend for you guys, let me know. I can't do it after 4 on Sundays. Just putting it out there. What I do like is that Devin and Nany are kind of building a bit of a friendship. They've been on other seasons together. They weren't working together necessarily. But I do like that they are getting friendlier. That Devin's making some inroads with some staples, which I think is good.
Yeah.
No, you don't like it? Why?
I mean, it's like I feel like it's all from like I just don't like Devin. I don't like Devin's alliance being like the new school people. I kind of wish like they would side more with Shane's side. I think like the fact that
we need to have this pull.
Yeah,
but like
to
have the tension.
I just don't like it for like future prospects where it's like Devin does the podcast with Aneesa and Tori and I mean Devin doesn't do the show, but like obviously like the podcast is like what's like bringing these people together, and then like that I feel like that's why Devin and Nany are tight. And I just feel like if Devin comes back on like future seasons, it's gonna be like she's just gonna be a vacation alliance.
Okay, I know I see your point there. I really, because I do not watch or listen to that podcast, I don't really think of it as an entity. I just think of Devin has not been doing anything for the last little while to do with the challenge, really. Like I've forgotten. So you do have a point. I was thinking that she's a little bit more like a fish out of water. She hasn't been on the show in a while, but yeah, she's actually more immersed in it than.
Oh yeah, I think she's like one of the most connected people just from that alone. I wish what the challenge did is what Survivor does, and each year there's a different host of the podcast, and it's instead of just having the same like 4 on like repeats. The Survivor one, it's like different person every season. I think the challenge doing that would be cool, and it should always be people not on the season.
Would they be doing it with TJ? Because this one,
no, TJ can't talk. Just have like 2 people that are entrenched in the world. I think that would be cool.
No, I think that's a good idea. I don't listen to the podcast, but I might be more inclined to if it wasn't just going to be, those 2 all the time, or before when it was Aneesa and Tori. I definitely didn't listen with Aneesa and Tori. I've listened more with Devin and Devin. So it would be nice to have some like a rotating host for the season. That'd be kind of fun. But I don't know if everybody's that great at hosting. So like who would you want to see do it? Who'd be first up? Shit, you're like Frank.
I think Frank would be really good as a host.
Actually, he would be good.
I think Veronica would be good. Who else would be good? I think Devin is good. I just think not boy Devin, girl Devin. I think is good. I don't want boy Devin hosting.
No, he's so annoying. Did you listen to him? I might have asked you this already when he was on Michelle and Kelly's podcast on RGP.
No, I didn't.
So I watched a little bit of it on YouTube, and he was really annoying and pretty insufferable. not that that should be a surprise to me, but basically he was just really acting like he was the most reality star of all reality stars and knows everything about the game of reality TV. And, hearing that he rehearses all of his confessionals and stuff like that. And because he's a true pro, I'm just like, it's a little, I don't know, whack. Anyways, so I just thought that he was just even more contrived. It's more of a character and a role that he's playing, and it just annoyed me that like he was just trying to like school them on how good he is at reality TV.
Yeah.
How was it? Hold on, how was it, Adam? This episode was great. This was the best episode of the season. Just saying. Because of your alliance are running things.
So this is funny enough. This is actually the first episode this season that Adam and Steve didn't win something.
Fair, but adjacent. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's the closest they can get. So they didn't have to sweat as much this episode. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like it took to episode 7 for them to have an episode where they didn't win any sort of challenge.
Willie wants to know, Adam, how does it feel to not be targeted for the last 2 weeks? That actually must feel great. Like to get to episode 8 and like be a target the whole time. It's pretty awesome. Oh, you're getting some love here, Adam. We love you here too on the channel, of course. And we love that your alliance won this episode.
Yeah, I gotta say,
go ahead.
Steve was so funny this episode in the challenge with the Flava Flav stuff. I was cracking up.
Oh my god, did I write it down? What was the word that he said wrong? Adam said a word. I thought I would remember.
Oh, he made up a word, yeah.
Well, I think he was trying to say another word, but then he said it wrong, and then he was going to just allow it to be a made-up word. Well, maybe we're going to put in the dictionary, like bootylicious, right? Maybe we actually are evolving into a new word. Or like, what's that word? Commentate is a word that doesn't actually exist. But now might be in the dictionary because it's used in a lot of rhyming schemes. Okay, so Veronica, we see her holding court with Shane and Katie. Shane wants Amber and Fessy to be the house vote. Veronica wants Turbo and Nany to be the house vote. But Shane doesn't necessarily want to make an enemy out of Turbo and Nany, especially because his partner, Devin, is pretty close with them. And he's not, like, he doesn't have a bad relationship with them. What do you think about these two factions starting to go against each other with their ideas on how they want this house vote to go?
This is the best part about the challenge when there's two sides just clashing heads and it all comes down to the daily. So I love this. I think the last 2 weeks it's been really entertaining because like you're seeing like the cracks start to form and the sides start to establish themselves. So I love this.
So now what do you think about all the people that are like, I only watched this show for the challenges? When like for me, the challenge is this episode, especially, were the least and interesting part. So what do you have to say? The best episode of the last like 4 years wasn't a challenge heavy episode.
I say to each their own. I mean, if you watch it for the challenge, then keep watching and the show will keep going on. Personally, like that's when I get up to go to the washroom or grab a snack. But yeah, I mean, the challenges are important, but
just
not
power.
necessarily.
But
yeah, they serve a purpose, but it doesn't really matter too much to me.
So now what's interesting is that Frank wants strong teams, but not that it's not interesting, but it's including though Steve and Adam. So do you think that we're going to see this come to fruition with Frank maybe targeting Steve and Adam at some point? Because like I feel as though Frank has to burn Katie and Veronica at some point.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think he might burn them in the form of trying to get Adam and Steve out. I don't think Frank would ever directly like try to get Veronica and Katie out because it just wouldn't make sense for him because he views them as one of the few teams he can beat, along with, I presume, Nicole and Melissa. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Frank and Sam kind of made a play against Adam and Steve, though. I think it's logical for them, if they're playing to win, that maybe use Adam and Steve for the next couple weeks as a weapon to go after Dario and Ashley, Turbo, and Nany. And then from there, it's like, all right, well, now we're going to turn on Adam and Steve, maybe, or would they go after Shane and Devon? I don't know. We'll see. I think 4 teams will make the finals, right? So got to go with at least one strong team.
And it's likely going to be, I would think, Adam and Steve. But because it could be Devon and Shane. Actually, you're right.
Well, the thing is, like, I definitely think they'll try to get Adam and Steve in that final elimination, whether it's against Devon and Shane or Dario and Ashley or whoever's left, Turbo, Nany, whoever lasts the longest. And again, that's like presuming everything goes their way. Judging off of how the season has gone, like, I'm hoping there's more shifts, even though that's a side I want to win. I still think it would be more entertaining to have like another shift or two.
Okay, so what do you think would happen if, say, Turbo and Nany win the daily next week? Do you think that will ruffle any feathers?
I think if Turbo and Nany won, the house vote would probably be Dario and Ashley in that case. And then
so they'd weaken somebody from their side, kind of?
Yeah. And then Nany and Turbo would probably throw in, I would guess, Adam and Steve.
You think that they'd throw in someone to maybe take them out and not maybe throw them a bone? No, they probably want to keep their layups for the final.
Yeah. And also knowing that they lost the numbers, I feel like they would want to keep in the worst teams in case they have to go back in.
Right.
But and Nany would probably control the decision in that case.
And it doesn't seem like Adam and Steve are that friendly. Well, no, they said that. Well, he said he didn't mind both teams.
And Turbo did say he wants Adam and Steve out, so it would make sense if they threw in Adam and Steve if they were to win.
Okay, what Willie wants to know: what do we think if Shane and Devon win? That would be that would be probably the most exciting.
They probably don't want to win, to be honest, right now. Or maybe they do after
they need to get their star. So,
but they can't get a star even if they win the daily. They'd have to win an elimination,
right? But they'd have the choice to go down if they want to, right?
Yeah. If Shane and Devon won, I wonder if the house vote would be. I wonder if it would still be Dario and Ashley. Just because, but the thing is, like, Veronica and Katie are going to be nervous that they're going to get thrown in.
Shane would no, but they would feel safe with Shane and Devon.
I don't know if they would. It seems like, I mean, Shane and Veronica are starting to go at it.
But like they're still friends. Like, they're not going to really go against each other for real.
Yeah.
I think because that would, mess up their friendship in real life.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed if I had a 23-year-old friendship and this game like made them lie and stab me in the back. Like, I don't know. I'd be furious if that happened. But maybe. Ooh. Have we heard of if they're having any beef right now? How are they?
I have no idea. Shane's not on Twitter, and I don't think Veronica is either. So I haven't really heard much from them in a while.
Hey, AK. So AK thinks that this season is boring and they're not invested in it like they were for season 40. More than this, even 39 might be boring, but I like the outcome. All Stars 6 is just All Stars 5 is just a snooze step spec for them. Do you agree?
I mean, now we've already talked about it quite a bit. I think this is a very good season, and this was
so good. I mean, I wonder what I guess maybe AK might be someone that enjoys the competitive aspects of it, because I'm finding that I'm excited to watch and I'm entertained. It doesn't feel like a slog, and I'm excited to see okay, how are they going to get out of this one? What kind of strategy they're going to pull? So I'll have to disagree, AK, but let us know why you are enjoying this season so little, please. So we're at the daily. It's called Blow Your Mind. Before we go into the daily, we do hear Nany say that they must win. Basically, there are some lanes with they have to memorize these answer keys and then solve the puzzle. Now, these puzzles are these analog clocks, and they have different time zones. Like, so say Tokyo is at 11 o'clock, and then it says +5. I actually didn't understand how to solve the actual puzzle. Did that become clear to you, or like I didn't really understand how to get it right, and they didn't show the correct answer key and how many each person got right or wrong. So can you decipher what's going on here?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was literally just them trying to memorize and recreate, but that's what I thought at first, because it was like, all right, well, once you're done looking at it, your partner only has like 3 seconds until the thing burns. So I was like, okay, it's just memorization. And then when Veronica was explaining it, she was saying that it was based on the actual times. So I wasn't sure what was really happening. But it seemed, from what Veronica said at least, that it was not based on pure memorization. It was based on like recreating like new times or something based on
right. So it's okay. So it does look like they were having accurate time zones. So that's one thing. I'm wondering if the +5 is kind of like they do have, say, like the pilots, they have everything in Zulu time. And so Zulu time, for instance, is +5 from Toronto. Yeah, it's +5 right now. I think it's +6 when it's daylight savings. I think is how I'm taking this. And then they had in their answer key, they had say Tokyo 11 a.m. So then having to make everything the correct time zone for each of the clocks for each of the places. So I think that it actually is less memorization and just knowing +5 from, say, like YYZ, like East Coast Standard Time. You know what I mean? Because I think it was accurate actual time zones, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, like, why did they explain it? So annoying.
Yeah, whatever happened, Veronica won. So.
Fair. Okay, so do you think so? What Dario did? So they did get back to their answer key, and CJ had said with this particular challenge that if you it's not about necessarily getting it done quickly; it's get most accurate most quickly. And so Dario decides to immediately get a check, so that would just set everybody off to getting a check really quickly. And so hoping that a lot of people would just make mistakes, but then smartly, Veronica and Katie decide to take their time to be most accurate, as well as Devin and Shane. And funny or not funny enough, those were the two that had the most accurate times, the most competitive times. So do you think that Dario kind of shot himself in the foot here?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I thought it was really funny, but at the end of the day, it was like it kind of eliminated his shot of winning too, by rushing it. It was like a good TV moment, I thought, for sure. But
it would have only worked if every single person answered,
and they also had the most.
Like, yeah. I wonder if they could have changed the rules. It's like as soon as one person logs in, everybody has to log in. Like that might be, like it's like, okay, everybody hands up check as soon as one person calls for a check. That might have, I'd maybe be better, but the fact that you're able to stay after someone calls check and then you're like, hey, now I have to just be absolutely correct and I win. It was it ended up being a bonehead move. How are you with reading analog clocks?
I feel like I would have done okay with that.
Yeah. AK won't lie. I don't know how to read an analog clock. Really? I mean, I guess I've grown up with them. I don't know how to not. It's interesting. Interesting. Danica says, I thought the LA clock was at 2 a.m. or something, not 12. So if that's the starting time, the others need to be changed with the numbers. Yes. And I think that it was accurate because she was saying, you saw Katie and Veronica saying, when we were in South Africa, that was like how many hours ahead of LA? Or they said some sort of corresponding time difference. And so I think, yeah, I was using accurate times. Anything else you want to talk about with that challenge, or you want to talk a little bit more about how your girls won?
No, just yeah. The only thing I really cared about with that challenge was the Dario, Veronica, and Katie winning, and Steve doing the Flava Flav. So other than that, I'm good on the challenge.
There was another funny moment when it was right before they actually started the challenge, and Nicole was basically saying, like, you know, you can't have brains and look, you have to have one or the other. And then Melissa's like, says that you got nothing.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, that was good. I kind of like Melissa and Nicole's dynamic.
Because they really don't like each other.
Oh yeah, and like they're just like wanting to play two completely different games too. And Melissa is kind of having to like bend the knee to Nicole a little bit, and it's pretty interesting, their dynamic.
She doesn't like it at all. Do you think that they're going to end up blowing? Because, like, yes, I know that you probably like the fact that Nicole is siding with Veronica here, but Mel doesn't like being told what to do for that long. And so, like, I'm wondering how long this is going to last.
Well, they need a star too. There's still a few teams that need a star. Is it just three teams need a star? Veronica, Katie, Nicole, Mel, and Shane and Devon. Is there anyone else that needs a star?
I
think that's it.
Fessy and Amber are gone. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, so those three teams are going to need a star, and I don't imagine all three will be able to get them, and that's going to be tough. Especially, I'm guessing there's probably there are probably 3 episodes left, and then the final. So, unless they do what they did last season and just like at the very end they do like some sort of challenge where the winner gets like an extra star, then I could see Melissa and Nicole getting a little screwed here.
So AK was born in 2002 and hated reading an analog clock as a kid when they tried to get me to read it. Fair. I mean, I guess it wasn't that like there were more digital clocks everywhere, but I feel like I always had like an analog clock in my home. Yeah, growing up, I've always had one, so it was always something around. I didn't really realize that there's some people that would never, ever have experienced it. It's actually, it reminds me. So when I was in high school, my best friend had a baby and I was their Lamaze coach, whatever. And when this baby was about 5 or 6 years old, 6, I think 6, we were in an antique shop and she pointed to a rotary telephone and she's like, "Mommy, what is that?" And like had absolutely no idea what like a rotary phone was, because at that point there was definitely, we didn't use those ones that the little dial that spins around. Which is, you had rotary phones, right? I'm like, you're not that young, are you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking.
Yeah,
you've had them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny though, because like she's just has never seen it before. And I guess, like, you know, if you're born in 2002, likely you would never have seen like or had in your home an analog clock. All right, so we know that Veronica and Katie win, so that's really fun. That they're going to get some points for you. Are they both on your draft team? Probably.
I know Veronica is for sure.
Let's see.
I don't know about Katie.
Katie's with Michelle.
Okay.
And yes, of course, you have Veronica. So you're getting some points there. Nany, of course, is worried now that she didn't win this one. I wish, though, that Nany played smarter and didn't allow herself to get spooked by Dario and just focused on the damn puzzle. Focused on it. So Katie, Veronica, and Frank are deciding on who should be the house vote. Katie and Veronica are a little bit worried about saying a strong team because they don't want the strong team to come back and take them out. So they want the house vote to be the stronger team of the two, like who would be likely to win the elimination. And then they'll throw in the, a less strong team. Now, with what ends up happening, because I thought that they didn't want to throw in Turbo and Nany. I thought that they were going to be the house vote. Do you know when that switched, or was I just always misguided?
Oh, I didn't hear anything about Turbo and Nany being the house vote. So I thought the plan was to get Fessy and Amber as the house vote. I thought that they thought Fessy and Amber were the stronger team. That's why they wanted them to be the house vote.
And so I guess that's why I thought no, I thought that they thought that the other way around. I thought that they thought that that Nany and Turbo, they want to have them be the house vote. That's what I thought was happening there, but obviously it isn't. Devon and Nany are talking, and they want Frank and Sam to be the house vote. So we get to party time. What I think is hilarious about those party scenes is that there's likely no music playing. And I'm sure that the producers are like, all right, just get really excited, because some of the actions that they're doing are just so unhinged that I can't even imagine that that's actually them partying. Like they're like, ah! Like, I'm like, it's not really happening. And it's happening to no music. It's I think that would be what I'd want to see if I ever got to like be on set for this show. So I want to see how they film these party dance montage scenes.
Yeah. I mean, some seasons they like get to go to bars and stuff, which I feel like is like a little bit easier. It seemed like earlier in the season though, like there was like a lot more like when Sam was like grinding with Melissa and Aneesa, like it seemed like it was like more in tune then, and it wasn't like it wasn't as animated, but
well, there's more people there, I guess, so like it doesn't look as sparse. I don't know. I just think it's hilarious that there's probably no music playing because they don't have the rights. That's another thing too. I used to think with All Stars that the music was always super awesome. I haven't noticed the music this season. Now it could be because we're watching it on a Canadian station, but chat, can you tell us if the music has been awesome or and if we're just getting Muzak version in Canada? Because yeah, I remember I used to think like, oh my god, the music's so good, because I'd be watching it on Paramount Plus US usually, right? Or MTV US.
Well, I used to watch it on MTV Canada. So I think the music was always different there as well. But I think on Paramount it was US. If you watched it on Paramount Plus, it was US. So you'd get the like actual music they were playing there. But on MTV, like when I would watch live on MTV, it was always different music.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that we might be getting different music again.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, very likely. So Shane tells Mel and Nicole that the vote is Frank and Sam and not to say anything. I mean, is this Shane being messy here, or does he actually think that those two are not going to say anything?
Oh, I think he actually thought they weren't going to say anything. I thought like he was thinking this was going to be his like big bold moment. And he thought that he had them completely.
I mean, it would have been it would have been great. I thought it was really interesting though that Veronica immediately shows how much she knows this game and has like a great perception of people, because she's like, people are acting different, they're really celebrating, they're not talking to them that much being the winners, and so she was starting to get an inkling that there was a plan that was happening that she either wasn't a part of or that people didn't want to tell her about. So I thought that was her spidey senses were pretty on point. I was like, that's our girl. So back at the house, Veronica really went in hard on Nicole. Nicole is scared of her. She's like, she buckled in like a second. She tells Shane, oh, I would never say anything. I'm not going to say anything. It's me and you. And as soon as Veronica's like, if you do this, like, I'm throwing you in. Like, you see Nicole just cower. Yeah, it wasn't a good look, in my opinion, of Nicole. Great on Veronica for being able to get her way, but that's kind of weak sauce for Nicole, no?
I mean, I guess I loved it from Veronica for sure. It's like, hey, like I'll have to consider putting you in if you vote against. If you're the vote against us, then I thought that was pretty smart too. It's like, all right, that's all you have at this point. It's like you got to keep your people safe, and I mean, at the end of the day, Veronica's keeping her safe too. So it's not like it's not also beneficial for Nicole. But yeah, I love like Veronica and Power because like she's gonna get what she wants.
Seriously. Willie's saying that the music on All Stars is good, even though they don't know the music or most of it. And Danica says some of the music is the old school music, but done by new artists. Some sort of weird, not bad, but just weird not to have the original stuff. I don't even feel like I remember hearing any actual songs. Like it used to, you'll see it pop up and it'll be like DMX, Rough Riders, you know what I mean? You'll see like the song pop up. Definitely don't see that happen in this version. Jessica says Shane's biggest mistake is telling Nicole anything. I would have told them shortly before the vote. Nicole can't hold water and she's too paranoid. That's true.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think some people like it's not about like what you tell them, it's when you tell them. And Nicole's one of those people where you have to be the last voice in her ear. And if you're not the last voice, like you're not going to win with her. She's like someone that's easy for Veronica to read. And like a good player like Veronica is going to like realize that something's going on. And then if Veronica can get the last word in, like Nicole is going to side with her. But if Shane did wait a little bit longer, I think he could have done the same thing because I think Shane is a strategically capable player as well. Maybe not as much as like a Veronica or a Frank, but I do think he could have had his way if he just waited a little bit.
Okay, Danica says that one of the songs this episode was from Men at Work, but it wasn't them singing. Who can it be now was the song. Yeah, I don't remember hearing that at all. I'm gonna be listening more intently, or maybe I'll watch it again on a US channel just to see if there's music that I didn't notice. Because yeah, I'm sad because one of the things that I loved about All Stars was the music, and I haven't noticed it as being a member of the episodes. Willie says Nicole knows not to mess with Veronica. She does. Well, like when she came in and Veronica confronted her, she was trying to lie for like 1 second. And like even I could see like, oh, like obviously Nicole is lying here. Like, well, what do you hear? Oh, I didn't hear nothing. And like she just was so obviously lying. So you're right. Veronica easily can suss out the fact that Nicole knows something that's going on and is the person to shake a little bit to get what she wants. Is that it for before we get to the jungle? That's crazy. Oh no, okay, just kidding. I switched next page. So Veronica is giving Mel quite a bit of attitude. Mel is pissed. She said that she can't be controlled. She doesn't like being spoken to that way by Veronica. So I can see that, Melissa being tamed by Nicole and playing Nicole's game and this round playing Veronica's game. I don't think Mel is going to let this happen again. Like, I think she will freak the fuck out. How long do you think that Mel will be able to stand being underneath Nicole's thumb? Over or under one episode?
I don't know what else she can do. There's like, because if they went back to the other side, they just lost a number there. So now they wouldn't even have the numbers in a vote. It would be 3-3. There's 6 teams left, right?
Nany and Turbo, Veronica and Katie, Steve and Adam, Mel and Nicole.
Oh yeah, no, there's
Dario.
7. Yeah, there's 7 teams left, but the winning team doesn't vote, so it would be 3-3 at best. So, I mean, it's possible, but I mean, is Nicole now going to willingly go against the Veronica side of things? Maybe if she feels strong-armed and you can kind of get something done there, but I just don't know if they have many options other than kind of lay in the middle and cling to Veronica and Frank and hope someone takes a shot at them first, which they probably would.
Wait, are we lining up a season where Nicole and Mel win? Like, is this what's happening?
No, I doubt that.
I don't actually think so. I could see them going home right before the final.
I could see them making a final too. There's no way. Like they even said today, like neither of them can do math. They can't do puzzles. We know it's going to be like a more equalizer based final. And I think that for them is actually kind of a worst case
They
scenario.
want to be pure strength if they want to.
Yeah, I think they would want like a very much endurance based thing. So I could not see them winning.
So Mel says that I was told that you were they. Veronica kind of shrugs this off. Does Veronica know that she's also they, or is it actually only Frank? Like, who knows who they is?
I think Veronica knows that she is also they, but I think Veronica and Frank both are cool with Frank being the only one that's taking the blame. Mm-hmm. I think Frank like cherishes like the extra spotlight, and I think Veronica is just happy to lay low and let Frank be taking the heat.
Taking the heat. Frank says he knows that Shane is behind this. And so this is a little bit of a misdirect from the editors with what we see happens at the end of the episode. Yes, Frank definitely loves being the center of attention, even though he's claiming that he hates it. So Nicole doesn't think that Veronica would ever fuck her over. And I was like, okay, Nicole, I get it that you want to side with her here, but I could in a world see Veronica fucking her over. If she has to choose between Nicole and Melissa over a couple other teams, I think that she'll choose some other teams before them. But I thought it was a little bit naive for Nicole to think that Veronica would never fuck her over. Never?
Oh, she would for sure.
For sure. So they want Amber and Fessy to be the house vote. And this is not necessarily something that Mel wants. Mel and Nicole and Fessy and Amber, they need all four of those votes to be able to get the vote that they want, that being Frank and Sam. So Mel wants to work with Amber and Fessy here, but she needs to speak to Nicole before Nicole during the house vote. So I was thinking like, oh, that would be really, really spicy if they get to the house vote. Mel speaks first and was like, I don't care what my partner says. I want it to be Frank and blah, blah, blah. And have them a little fight at the deliberation. That would have been kind of fun. That's what I was expecting anyways. Expecting it as well? No. So bring the rain, says TJ when we get to the deliberation here for the house vote. He wants to know, is that all you've got? Amber says that she wants to bring up something, and so she points a finger immediately at Frank, saying, you're the biggest snake in the house. And Frank was whinging and moaning a little bit, like, why is everybody blaming me for everything? Why me? Like, it's not me. Why are you using me as your scapegoat? I was just like, I get it, Frank, but come on. You know that you are that person.
Well, he acknowledged it later on, but he's doing a good job of whether he's acting or not, but getting kind of upset in the public forum. But then in confessionals, he's certainly willing to acknowledge that he is they.
He is they. So the votes are in. Turbo and Nany, they do Frank and Sam. Frank and Sam do Amber and Fessy. Amber and Fessy do Frank and Sam, of course. Ashley and Dario do Fessy and Amber. Were you surprised by that?
That Dario and Ashley?
Mm-hmm.
No, because Ashley's like best friends with Frank from Real World.
Oh, right. Sorry. But I was also thinking, and this is probably why Amber was a little bit upset, because you saw last episode them being moms and them hanging out, and she loves Ashley so much, and they had built this friendship. But yeah, of course, why would she ever choose Frank and Sam here? And then Devon and Shane choose Frank and Sam. Steve and Adam choose Fessy and Amber. Turbo really was kind of pissed, talking about, I think it was Frank, he was talking about being a shithead and that he just wants to flush him down the toilet. He was talking about Frank, right?
Yeah, he was talking about Frank.
I did find just the fact that Turbo just does not like him very much at all. I thought it was funny. And Nicole and Melissa was basically the deciding vote here. Melissa does speak first, but she does say Amber and Fessy, which definitely is one that burned Amber because she did think that her and Mel were friends. Mel basically was saying that, hey, I want you guys to be here and I don't want to throw you guys in. I'll speak before Nicole. But then we get a flashback of basically Nicole saying that Veronica, is going to save them. And so we have to work with them this time. Just to trust her this time. Trust her just this time. So she did. And Mel was crying about it. Was there anything that Amber and Fessy could have done to get themselves out of this mess other than win?
I mean, the only other thing would be to not make Frank and Sam the other option, I think, and try to go for Dario and Ashley's vote. But the only problem is I feel like Ashley just would have sided with whatever Frank wanted to do anyways, with Frank and Sam. So I don't know if that would have worked, but I guess the only other option would be, all right, let's get Adam and Steve in there. And one of us will have to suck it up and go against a stronger team. Which honestly, I think probably would have been the better bet, knowing that a lot of these eliminations are kind of chancy. Mm-hmm. Like this elimination, Adam and Steve certainly could have lost to anyone. So I think that honestly would have been the better play. And then just convince Dario and Ashley, hey, you're going to want Adam and Steve out because they're the strongest team here. And if they're out, you have a good shot of winning. So I think that is a play. But I think everyone was playing a little bit in Turbo's terms of pussy chicken game, and they wanted to go against an easier beat.
This is true. So I was laughing at the fact that Frank was pissed at the end of this deliberation. Shane, though, I think Shane was speaking on your behalf when he says that unmarried, single, chaotic, messy Frank is his favorite type of Frank. And I feel like you would agree. I feel like this was coming out of your own mind, these words.
Yeah, but I mean, married, successful 35-year-old Frank is still super entertaining. So I actually have to disagree with Shane because Frank has been providing all season long, and a lot of it has been behind closed doors. So I don't know if Shane was privy to it, but I mean, Frank, to me, this version of Frank is more enjoyable than 25-year-old Frank because 25-year-old Frank he was kind of like Turbo in a way where he was aggressively dramatic. Unhinged, and yeah, it would get to a point where it got a little bit too far. So it was great TV, but a lot of it was a little bit scarier, and now it's controlled chaos in a way. So I actually prefer this version of Frank, the more strategic and level-minded.
Thinking a little bit more about what he's going to do and still providing the chaos and the messiness.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see your point. I think Shane. I wonder if Shane has a mini crush on Frank.
Well, those two I think are not on good terms. I will say that much.
After this season, or
present day, not on good terms whatsoever.
Ooh, okie dokes. Jorge says, have you guys heard the reason why they didn't show Shane and Corey hook up is because Shane may have said or done something very problematic. Frank keeps teasing that it was very bad.
Yes, I've heard. I'm going to listen to Frank's Instagram live after and see if he shares any deets. I've definitely heard from Corey in some of his exit stuff that him and Shane had a big falling out, and Frank was very supportive of Corey and all of it. So that's kind of what started the beef between Frank and Shane. And Frank has been taking a lot of shots at Shane on social over the last couple of months. And again, Shane has been pretty MIA. He's not on Twitter. I think he was an alternate for 41, and he might have been away from the country for a bit. So Shane, we haven't heard much from Shane, but I'm eager to hear him kind of clap back because he's not one to mince words either.
Okay, I haven't heard about this. I heard that they hooked up, but that's the extent of what I'd heard. So once you find out more, please share. I'm sure you will. So we see Katie and Veronica dancing because they're so excited because they got power and they got the person in for the house vote that they wanted. And now they're choosing between Dario and Ashley and Nany and Turbo as to who's going to go down against Fessy and Amber. Now, that was the first time I heard Dario and Ashley being an option here. So I was like, oh, maybe this was all a misdirect and it's not going to be Nany and Turbo. But they're probably just put that in there just to make it seem like it's possibly someone else, because I was like, oh, that's the first time I've heard about them.
This season, the one complaint I have about this season has been the flashbacks and like not knowing who's going in. The whole time I'm like thinking in the back of my head is, are we going to get like them randomly throwing Shane and Devin in, and then we're going to get a flashback of like, oh, we had no idea this was coming. And then they're going to flashback of like Veronica and Shane going at it, and then they throw them in. So I was like bracing myself for that. It ended up being kind of like the chalk pick.
Yeah.
And the teams that should have gone in went in. But I was just like waiting for like, oh, we're going to get like some random surprise. Like Nicole and Mel are going to go in anyways, and then it's going to be a flashback. So I'm glad we didn't get that this episode.
Jorge says, yeah, not surprised, but his rumors that it was race related because even Devin got upset. All right. Well, we're at the jungle here. They are playing scratch off. It's nothing personal, but they're sending down Nany and Turbo. Basically, there's two boards where they had to scratch off an image and then they have to solve a puzzle recreating the image. They didn't need to scratch off the image at all.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, it was a pretty straightforward puzzle. Like, why did they even bother wasting their time doing the scratching? They could have just done the puzzle. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it wasn't like you needed to see like the design or something just to have an idea of how it flows. It was literally a photo of the cast. And so you could easily put together, like, I mean, you'll be faster at it knowing like, okay, Frank's head is to the left and Nany's head is to the right. Like, it'll be faster solving it if you have an idea where all the bodies go. But you definitely did not need to scratch that whole thing. And so at one point, you see pretty immediately Turbo leaves the scratch board and he starts dealing with the puzzle. And Nany's still on the board. I'm like, Nany, why are you still over there? Like, he's halfway done this puzzle and you're still scratching. Like, what's happening here?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was really weird. And like, I think it would have been almost better if there was like a rule that you had to scratch off the entire thing. And then like that was like your way to start, because then there's like two components to it. But it really just kind of felt like a pointless addition to it all, where it's like, okay, well, we scratched off like 5% of it and now we know what we have to do. So I can't say I loved this elimination too much. Probably one of the weaker eliminations for me.
It was just a puzzle.
But I will say,
it wasn't even a hard puzzle.
Fessy is 5-0 in eliminations when he's not facing Nany, and against Nany, he's 0-2. So Fessy cannot beat Nany in an elimination. He's beaten everyone except for Nany.
Nany is the GOAT against Fessy. Well, the other one was the one on the ladder,
Dragon
right?
Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the ladders with bananas and Mariah.
Hilarious. So, wow, who knew? Like, she can hang her hat on that one. That's pretty
so
good.
Next season, Fessy's on with Nany. Fessy's got to get her out early or she's going to send him packing.
If he goes against her, yep. So basically, we know that Nany and Turbo are protecting their star, and if they lose, that means that Fessy and Amber will get a star. It was pretty straightforward, as we already mentioned, how to do this. Amber's not great at puzzles. I thought Fessy would have been better at puzzles, but they didn't seem to be doing very well, because when Turbo and Nany finally win and they look at their board, they're like, oh my God, like, we're done. They're pretty much not even half completed. And so they smoked them, which I was like, I was happy for them because I wanted Turbo to stay in the game.
Yeah, I feel like, and it seemed like what was happening was, I think Fessy and Amber were scratching off more than they needed to. And like they were saying, like Turbo is like staying true to his name, like he's in turbo mode. And I think like he just like quickly scratched off, and then they went to do the puzzle. So they made it look a little bit closer live, but then afterwards was clear that Turbo and Nany just smoked them.
Well, and also, just looking briefly at what they had done, Fessy and Amber, is it seemed like their lettering at the top was incorrect. I was like, it didn't look like they had everything in the right place, even at the top. So it was less done, I believe, than it actually appeared. So they, Adam doesn't care who comes back. Nany and Turbo win. Turbo thinks that everybody's a pussy chicken. And Fessy and Amber leave, but now Fessy is family to Amber. Do you think that this will follow through in future seasons, or will Fessy still stab her in the back if it suits his game better?
No, I think they'll be good. I think like Fessy, like for all the like negative there is to say about Fessy, like I do think he's like, I think he's like a good guy at heart, and I think this was enough for him to not make a play against her. I don't see there's no reason to be honest. Like there was never a reason to begin with. It was kind of like an irrational thing. But I think if they are in a season together, like they'll be good. Like Amber's good with Josh too, I think. And I also think Amber might even replace Casey in that alliance, because I could see Casey not being on the show as much anymore.
That's possibly true. Sophie says that you must have been happy that you got a little Amanda cameo, Amanda and Fessy relationship, when he was showing his live-in girlfriend and the reason why he wanted to win the money.
Oh, I would have loved to see. It would have been awesome if Amanda and Fessy were partners this season. Just because then you get all the lavender ladies. Like Amanda is going to be way more fiery, obviously, than Amber. And no disrespect to Amber, I just think like having Amanda here with Fessy would have been super fun, and I think they would have been a lot more well connected too, and the season would have played out a little bit differently. But yeah, unfortunately, we only got Amanda in a small clip.
Do you think that she'll turn up at the reunion?
They won't do a reunion, unfortunately. I wish they would. They should, honestly, for this season.
They should. All right, so Shane is pissed at Veronica for running to Frank before coming to him. Yeah, they do look like they're having a little bit of, I mean, they're friends, so they are speaking to each other openly, pretty candidly, pretty heated. I think that they're going to get over it, but how do you think that their dynamic's going to play out?
I think like in the grand scheme of things, I think they'll be fine. I think for this season, I still think it's going to be a rocky road. I think like Shane is just like a very emotional guy, and I think like he's going to ride with Davon's side now. So I personally think like they're going to butt heads a little bit, maybe not direct shots at each other, but I could see them not working together and it taking like a few months to settle after the show ends.
The dust to settle. And then we see the montage of Frank explaining how he is they, and he knows that he's they, and it shows him in everybody's ear, talking to everybody about everything, orchestrating all the House votes, orchestrating all the people going against the House vote. He is they, and he loves it. I thought it was a great reveal, and I was like, props, Frank.
Yeah.
Who's MVP? Is Frank the MVP?
Ooh,
Veronica did a lot of good work this episode too.
Yeah, Veronica did a lot of good work. See, it's funny because like it was very Veronica Frank heavy. I'm curious to see what the confessional count was. I'm sure Frank got the most. Katie and Sam were a little bit quieter, so yeah, it's tough. I think we gave it to Veronica and Katie last week, so maybe it's appropriate to give it to Frank and Sam this week.
Willie wants Turbo to be MVP. Not this week, but maybe next week, depending on what happens. See, because it looks like the Turbo Whisperer, as in Nany, is going to have to be going to work. So, now, how do you feel about Nany always trying to muzzle Turbo? Like, he's like, I'm going to come back into the house and raise hell. And he's like, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. And it's like, oh, maybe a little bit. Make people scared to throw you in a little bit, you know? You're going to come back and raise hell.
Oh, I don't like it at all. And honestly, it's not even just Nany. The one Veronica did the same thing today with Frank. Like Frank said, I want to go confront Shane, and Veronica said, don't do it. It's like it's not good for our game. Like, yeah, it's not. You're right. It's not good for your game,
but it's good for our television.
Yeah, it's good for us. So I was like wanting Frank to go confront Shane. I
thought he was still going to do it, even though she said not to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he kind of did, but it just like wasn't as much as it should have been. Mm-hmm. And then like Nany and Turbo, it's like, yeah, it's like smart for your game to kind of go back to like the Devin of it all. Like that's the kind of game like Devin now plays too, where it's like, yeah, I'm just going to be low on the confrontation and be buddy. Like I'm not going to create good TV and it's going to take me far. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It probably will take you far on the next season. It will probably take you far again, but it's just going to get more and more boring because you're less willing to confront people. So just let Turbo be Turbo, let Frank be Frank, and let us be entertained. And don't worry about it because Nany, Veronica, you'll be back on another season. You'll keep getting the calls.
Willie says it would have been so cool to see Shane and Frank pop off at each other. I mean, it may still happen because these two hotheads, they do love a confrontation, and so I wouldn't be surprised if one is still brewing. So, is there anything else you want to say about this episode?
No, just really, really good episode. I'm excited to kind of just listen in on some of the podcasts tomorrow that pop out. I'm curious to see who's going to be on the Challenge official podcast and if it's worth listening to. I'm waiting for.
Usually listen to? So you listen to that one loosely.
Well, I usually listen to Bananas, but he's
he hasn't been doing it lately, though, right?
Yeah, he's a little preoccupied right now, I think. So Bananas is not on. Sometimes I'll listen to Challenge Mania, depending on the guest too, and then same as the official Challenge pod, just depending on the guests there. And then what else? I listen to Scally and Matt.
Yeah.
I like them.
I don't listen to them. I should, but it's up when it's just a podcast. I always forget, and I usually just watch whatever's on. It has a YouTube channel. But I definitely listen to Ali and Brian because they're on YouTube now. So I remember to watch them. And I listen to the Challenge after shows sometimes. They irritate me sometimes, but I still listen to them, most of their content.
Yeah. Well, if you want to be irritated, you can also listen to Polly Calafiore's podcast.
I don't know if I have that in me.
They got video. You can watch Polly.
I don't know. Does he have guests or is he just ranting?
No, it's just them. And I'm sure tonight they'll talk about how Veronica sucks even though she won. And
actually, maybe I want to just listen to that just to be angry.
I guarantee you, if you listen to it, just listen to the first 5 minutes and they'll be roasting Veronica in the first 5 minutes.
And who's he talking with?
Just two fans, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Two fans. Well, thank you, Matthew, for joining me today to talk about this episode. Thank you, everybody here in the chat. Matthew, what do you have going on with your channel that maybe you want people to subscribe to, or what's going on this week?
Yeah, I posted a few days ago on my channel, Pop Culture Piggies. I did a season 4 mock cast of Traitors. I sent you my picks as well, but I did a kind of 30-minute breakdown, just who I would pick for that, and talked a little bit about the Oscars and some NFL football as well. Just talking about everything going on in the world of pop culture over there. So yeah, check us out. Like, subscribe. It would be super cool. We're just kind of getting started. Half of it is me on my own talking about reality. And then the other half is me and a friend of mine talking about sports and movies and all that good shit.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely started to become a little bit of a cast war because a couple other people were showing also posting their casting ideas. So maybe we should like get a whole bunch and then we rank people's cast ideas, or then maybe we can come up with a master list of like, because there's some people that I'm like, ooh, that's a good person to think of. So yeah, maybe if more people put together their lists of the traitors season 4, we can do like, we can compare 10 lists or something like that, and then have like, you know, figure out a master list or something like that. Could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for being here, hanging out and chatting with us. Good night. And I guess we'll see you hopefully this weekend to talk about Cast of 41. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Ciao, everybody.